And I'm back, boys, and this time I thought I would start a new series on the channel. One where we go back in time and review all retro shows, and the show I picked to kick off this series is Survivor Series 2014, which was 11 years ago. Yes, you heard me right, 11 years ago. Over a decade. My god, you are old. What are you doing here? Don't forget to take your medicine, old man, and that hairline ain't coming back. You might as well just shave it off. So let's get right into the show. But before we get into the nitty-gritty about the show, let me give you just a quick overview of what's happening in the company right now. So it's Survivor Series. Vince McMahon is still running the company. It is going strong, and the main plot point of the story is the Authority and what's going to happen with the Authority. The main plot point that we are going to be focusing right now is the big match, the main event match that has the future of the Authority at stake. So let's get into the show. This being 2014, the show started off with some pyro, and then Vince McMahon came out to open the show. When I originally watched this show back in 2014, yes, I am old, I just exposed myself. But now that I rewatched it, I remembered the parts that I forgot about this show, and those are all the boring parts. A pretty basic start to any WWE show, a promo. Vince McMahon comes out, he talks to the crowd for a bit, he explains the stipulation for the main event. That is one big aspect of this show. They're going to constantly explain to you what the stipulation is. For some reason, the WWE didn't believe its fans could understood what it was making, so they spend a lot of time on this show explaining just the gimmick of the main event. So Vince McMahon is out there. He calls out the Authority. Stephanie McMahon and Triple H comes out, and they are on their best behavior. They do a lot of ass kissing. They get the crowd to chant Vince, 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 and they are basically just kissing up to Vince McMahon as much as possible because Vince McMahon is the one that created the stipulation of if Authority loses, they're out of power. When John Cena comes out, the crowd boos him. He's not a part-timer yet. He's been there full-time, but he does take more breaks than usual. So he's still booed out of the building, but he still is that top guy of the company. You can tell that he's close to getting out of the company, but his time hasn't come yet. When he comes out, he cuts a pretty normal babyface promo. He puts over his team. He puts over the stipulation. Then Triple H brings up a aspect of the stipulation that is kind of hypocritical of John Cena. So John Cena is talking about how this match is the most important match and how everything's at stake for it. But John Cena doesn't have anything at stake for this match. This match is just another normal match for John Cena because the stipulation is if the Authority loses, they're out of power. But if Team Cena loses, all of John Cena's teammates are going to get fired, but not Cena himself. So Cena doesn't have anything to lose. He only has things to gain. And Triple H calls him out on that. Calls him a phony and a poser, that he takes risks only when there's no risk to him personally. And when his team loses, he's going to get all of his teammates fired. Cena replies in a pretty basic, normal babyface way that he's not gonna lose. And then Stephanie gets on the mic and then she points out a major loophole that we were all thinking about when this stipulation. When this stipulation was created, they said that if Authority loses, they would be off TV, but that doesn't mean that they still have no executive power. They still have creative control and power over wrestlers. They just won't be on TV every week. But Vince McMahon stops that and puts in a new stipulation. He adds to the already existing stipulation and basically says that if Team Authority loses, not only do they lose their position on the TV product, but they lose all creative control in the company. So now the stakes have been raised. But he does give them an out. Vince McMahon does also say that he added a stipulation to the contract saying that there's only one person in this company, if Team Authority loses, that can bring them back to power, and that is John Cena. Now, this was a pretty stupid stipulation if you ask me. It doesn't make any sense and it kind of takes all the stakes away from the match. You can argue that this was made to plant ahead because if you know what happens later on, that stipulation is used in a way to bring the Authority back to power so their storyline can continue. So you can argue that Vince McMahon was planning ahead for the storyline, but it does lower the stakes. Once they were raised, then they were lowered again because of that stipulation. It's good and bad at the same time, but at least they put it ahead of time so the fans know it. See, that's one good thing about Vince McMahon and how he booked his stories. He always found ways to get around it or ways to change it without being an abrupt or random like in today's WWE. In today's WWE, that stipulation would have never been added in the match and it would have just come out of nowhere without any explanation. But now they explained it and they gave the authority an out if they lost. Pretty straightforward opening, nothing too exciting or over the top. It just explained the main event and got people hyped for the main event. I do have to say though that I cannot stand Stephanie McMahon on the mic. She is terrible and I don't know whose idea was to let her speak all the time, but they should probably not have any more ideas. With the opening promo ending, we go into the normal company shilling, and Michael Cole explains the stipulation of the match again, going back to the idea of the WWE not believing that their fans are smart enough to understand a pretty basic concept. After all promos, all company shilling, and everything is done by Michael Cole, we go into our first match of the night. Opening match for the show was a fatal 4-way tag team title match. We had the Usos, and these are not the Bloodline Usos. No. This is 2014. Half-painted faces and dancing in the entrance. These are the Usos before they became the Usos that we know and deal with today. After the Usos, we have the most over team in this match, Miz and Mizdow. This was a great team for Miz. This was one of the best era of Miz's career and everything he was doing creatively. The crowd was really behind Mizdow, and I'm going to go into it more in the match itself. After Miz and Mizdow, the third team was Los Matadors. Talk about a throwback. I had totally forgotten these guys even existed until I rewatched this show. And boy, was I flabbergasted when I saw Los Matadors on my TV. For anybody that doesn't know who the hell Los Matadors are, and why would you? They were a jobber tag team, and for some reason, they had a mascot. And their mascot was a little dude in a bull outfit, El Dorito. And after that, the tag team champions themselves came out. It was Goldust and fucking Stardust. Stardust is here, everybody. The goat of all goats. The greatest champion of all time. The flag bearer of the WWE. The man that put the company on his back and is carrying it into the future. Stardust is here. We're in for a good show when Stardust is here. And of course, I am being sarcastic because this match sucked anytime Stardust was in the ring. So let's get into the match itself. It wasn't anything special. The crowd was really behind this match, but only because of one reason, and that was Mizdow. Miz had a tag team with his stun double, Mizdow, and the gimmick was Mizdow would do every move that Miz did on the side of the ring. So anytime Miz got his ass beat in the ring, Mizdow was in the corner of the ring outside, getting his ass beaten by the air. It was extremely entertaining, and he really got Mizdow over with the crowd. This crowd loved Mizdow. They were chanting for him the whole match. The match itself in the ring was decent. I do want to point out that Los Matadors really earned their paycheck that night because they were pretty much in that match the whole time. It was always at least one Los Matadors in there, and the one time they weren't in there, it was very short. So Los Matadors really put in the effort, so you got to give them big ups for that. The low point of the match, of course, was when Stardust was in there with anybody, because Stardust, of course, kills all the fun and ruins anything that's happening in the ring. I don't know how this guy is still employed with the WWE. I don't know what they were thinking. How is Stardust still in the WWE? How is Goldust not, but Stardust is? Can you explain that? But they really need to rethink Stardust's position in the company. Enough of me talking about Stardust. During the match, they were always calling for Mizdow, but they did a pretty good thing in storytelling. Miz never tagged in Mizdow. You could tell that the Miz was angry and pissed off with Mizdow because he was getting over while the Miz wasn't. The crowd would boo anything that Miz did, but they would cheer for anything that Mizdow did. So that was the story between them two. The Usos were in the match, but they really didn't have a story going for them at that time. Unlike Miz and Mizdow, the Usos were a pretty much non-factor in this match. They had a few good spots, but nothing insane, especially for them being the Usos. You would expect they would be the best team in that match. They weren't that much of a factor in this match itself. The big storyline in this match was the crowd really wanted Mizdow, and the Miz did everything he could not to tag in Mizdow. There was a time where Mizdow got a tag, and then he was immediately tagged out by somebody else. I want to say it was either Stardust and Goldust, and it was perfect. The crowd booed like crazy when Mizdow was tagged out. The match comes to an end. They do a big spot outside the ring. Then they do a top rope multi-man suplex. Miz is about to go pin, but Mizdow tags himself in, pins Goldust, and they win the tag team titles. And the crowd went wild when Mizdow won the tag team titles. The Miz grabbed both tag team titles and was celebrating, while poor Mizdow was celebrating with empty hands, but pretending that he was holding titles. This story will continue on for a couple of more months, and it will get better as it goes. The match wasn't anything crazy, but it wasn't bad. The crowd was into it, but only because of Mizdow. So you can't really say that the crowd was wooed because what was happening in the match itself. They were just happy to see Mizdow. So with that factor being in and Stardust being in and pretty much killing anything that could happen, I think this match was a solid 3 out of 5. It wasn't bad, it wasn't good, but because Mizdow was there, it does earn a point because the crowd was really into it. Moving on from the tag team match, we go backstage to a promo between the Bunny and Adam Rose. Now, if somebody watching this doesn't know who or what the Bunny is, let me explain. So Adam Rose, another WWE jobber from this era, had a bunch of rosebuds that he would come out to the ring with. They were a part of his entrance and a part of his gimmick. One of those rosebuds was a guy in a bunny outfit, and for some reason, that bunny got over with the crowd. The crowd really wanted this bunny, so they gave this bunny a storyline with Adam Rose, where the bunny was outperforming Adam Rose, and Adam Rose really didn't like that. So in this promo, it's just Adam Rose talking to the bunny, saying that the bunny is less than him and that he made everything that the bunny is. Then, Heath Slater and Titus O'Neil come in, two other jobbers from this era, but they're better known than Adam Rose or the Bunny, and they shit talk them for a while, and then a match is made for tonight by Adam Rose. So I guess we are getting a match between Adam Rose, a goddamn bunny, and Heath and Titus O'Neil. Now, what the hell was the point of this bunny storyline? Well, it was a storyline that came and left with no proper ending. Now we go into the second match of the night, which is an elimination tag team Divas match. On team 1, we have Paige, Cameron, Summer Rae, and Layla. And on team 2, we have Natalya with her husband, we have Naomi, Emma, and we have Alicia Fox. Now, this is 2014 WWE, and this is a Divas match. So there's only one word that can explain this match. Ass. And not only that, I don't know if you guys remember, but the Divas back then weren't really used for anything else but eye candy. And this match exemplifies that perfectly. Their entrances were not even full entrances. They just got those women out there like that, like rapid fire. One would come out, they would not even be halfway down the ramp, the other one was coming out. And then the other one. They did not even give these women a full entrance, which is a little disrespectful. At least give them a full entrance. You don't got to give them a long match because, you know, none of those women can wrestle, but at least give them a full entrance. Come on now. The match itself was the pure definition of a piss break match, and you could see everybody in the crowd was walking around not paying attention to the match. The match was short, stale, and boring. There was a botch in the beginning where Paige went to tag in Cameron, but I guess she was supposed to tag in Layla because they were talking with each other, and Cameron pointed to Layla, and this was all captured on camera, so you could see the wrestlers talking to each other saying that you weren't supposed to tag me and you're supposed to tag in Layla. So with that mix-up, Layla comes in, nothing interesting happens. What do you want me to tell you? Nothing happens. This is a 2014 Divas match. Nothing happens in the ring of note. It is a very short match, and eliminations come out of nowhere for no reason. First person eliminated was Cameron. She was eliminated by Naomi out of nowhere. Layla was eliminated by Alicia. Summer Rae comes in. For some reason, she did a few wrestling moves, even though Summer Rae was known for never being able to wrestle. Remember that weird taunt that Paige used to do on the apron, where she would just like tilt her head back and scream to the sky? Well, Summer Rae did that for some reason. That did not go down with Paige, leading to Paige throwing her back in the ring after she got knocked out, and then Summer Rae was eliminated by Emma by submission, making Paige the solo survivor of her team. Paige goes in, they wrestle for like 2 minutes, then Paige is eliminated by Naomi, all of Team 1 eliminated, with Team 2 losing 0 people. So it was a clean sweep, as the announcers put it. The crowd was really not into this match. You could tell that they were getting restless and bored. They were chanting "We won Mizdout" during this match, and nobody did anything to entertain the crowd. So you can't even blame the crowd for this match sucking. I would have to give it a 2 out of 5. With the Divas match coming to an end, we enter a slow point of the pay-per-view. At this point, they just go into a little bit of company shilling for a couple of minutes, and then we go to the Legends table where they talk about the main event. We have Renee Young, Booker T, and Paul Heyman talking about the main event. They don't really add anything of note or anything we don't know, so it was just a way to take up time and give everybody a break while getting ready for the next match. This is the third match of the night, where is Dean Ambrose versus Bray Wyatt. Now, this match on paper should have been amazing. The storyline going into this match is Dean Ambrose has been feuding with Seth Rollins for a better much of a year now. We are still in the era of the Shield breaking up, where Dean Ambrose was making Seth Rollins' life a living hell, and Roman Reigns was nowhere to be found. The story started off in Hell in a Cell, where Seth and Dean were having a match. Dean had the upper hand. Out of nowhere, a ghost showed up in the middle of the ring. It was Bray Wyatt. He attacked Dean Ambrose and cost him the match. The problem with this match is that the build-up doesn't make any sense, because there was no reason for Bray Wyatt to attack Dean Ambrose. Dean Ambrose and Bray Wyatt didn't have anything going on between each other. At that point, Dean Ambrose was fully focused on Seth Rollins and getting his lick back from him for this Shield breaking up. And they just kind of threw Bray in it out of nowhere for no reason. You can tell that this match was probably made just to give a reason to have Seth in the main event and not have Dean Ambrose interfere. Because if Seth was in the main event, it would make sense that Dean would want to be in Team Cena so he could get his hands on Seth Rollins. It doesn't make any sense, because after this, they have one more match at TLC, Dean and Bray, and then Dean Ambrose goes back to feuding with Seth Rollins. So this was a side quest to the main quest that made no sense. What you gonna do? Sometimes not all storylines work out. Vince McMahon is good, but he can't always throw in a 3-pointer. Sometimes there's misses. So let's get into the match itself. The match itself was disappointing, because these two are two of the best to do it. Dean Ambrose is very good in the ring, and Bray Wyatt is also very good in the ring, and they both have good character work, and they can cut a decent promo. But for some reason, this match was just not clicking in at all, and I think it's because of the shit storyline that they gave it. This match was thrown out there just to take up time. The build-up was weak, the story was weak, and the feud didn't make any sense. It was a very slow-paced match. It never kicked it to second gear, and the ending didn't help either. The match ended in a confusing way. Bray Wyatt, in the middle of the match, grabs a mic, cuts a promo, and hits Dean with it, and nothing happens. But then Dean Ambrose grabs a chair. Bray Wyatt is on his knees with his hands up, doing the thing that he always did, that pose. And for some reason, Dean Ambrose is conflicted with hitting Bray Wyatt. And the ref is in Dean's face saying that if you hit him with the chair, I'm gonna disqualify you. But Dean was just hit with the mic and nothing happened. Anyways, the match ends in a disqualification from a chair shot. He grabs a table, he puts Bray Wyatt on it, he gets on the top rope and does an elbow through the table, putting Bray Wyatt through it. And then for some reason, he grabs tables and chairs and just throws them in the ring. Then at the end, he grabs this tall ass ladder, puts it in the ring, climbs it, and he looks like he's about to jump off, but he just never jumps off. And then his music hits, the refs come out, and then they get him to go away. This match was made just to build up their match at Tables, Ladders, and Chairs next month. This was a waste of time. This match does not even deserve a ranking because it was not a match. It was a way to build up to another match that fell flat. So Bray picks up the win due to disqualification, and Dean gets him next month at Tables, Ladders, and Chairs. Now going from one bad match to a terrible match, we have the goddamn Bunny and Adam Rose versus Heath and Titus O'Neil, Slater Gator, as they said. And as I touched on before, this match is because of the storyline that's happening between Adam Rose and the Bunny. But the problem is that this storyline never has a payoff or resolution. It just kind of ended without ever explaining who the Bunny was and why it was so good at wrestling. So this match happens. It was by far the worst match of the night, and it was extremely short. The match starts off and then ends immediately. The Bunny pins Heath Slater. The Bunny wins the match, and then he does the dive onto the rosebuds Adam Rose used to do, and then the Bunny is carried away by the rosebuds as Adam Rose stands alone in the ring holding his dick in front of everybody. Was there a point to this match? I guess. At the moment, there was. But knowing the future, no, there was no point in this match because the storyline never ended. A waste of time, and might I add, this is a pay-per-view. Moving on from the Bunny and the total waste of time that was, we went to a live interview apparently. But it wasn't live, it was pre-recorded. And the interview is between the whole announce team and the one, the only Roman Reigns. Now, this is not tribal chief Roman Reigns. No, no, no. This is the big dog Roman Reigns. This promo was nothing to write home about. You can tell that Roman Reigns still needs a lot of time in the oven before he can get to a good promo, and it's gonna be years until he can cut a decent promo. It's actually gonna be until 2020 when he comes back as the tribal chief, when he finally gets over. But important things to note, the crowd did not actually hate Roman Reigns at this time. He was actually getting cheered from the crowd. So when did the big switch happen with Roman Reigns? When did everybody turn on Roman Reigns and he became public enemy number one? Well, that was at the Royal Rumble. We're still at Survivor Series, so he can still get some reaction and some cheers from the crowd. The crowd was actually really behind him. They were cheering him for everything he was saying, even though his promo was not that good. So being Vince McMahon and seeing that he could get cheers from the crowd, it is fair to assume that he could have believed that Roman Reigns could have pulled off the Royal Rumble victory. But as we all know, that Royal Rumble victory was the worst thing that could have happened to Roman Reigns. Now, as I said, this promo was pretty lacking and nothing of note. But one thing I do want to bring up, if you know the meme of Roman Reigns jerking his hand off in a weird black leather jacket, this is where that meme came from. This is that promo. This is the hand jerking off promo, and it's wonderful. The promo itself sucks, but when he did the hand jerking off movement, I kind of popped for it. He says nothing pretty much. He talks about Seth and Dean and how when he comes back, he's gonna beat that ass. But we all know that Roman was never in that story. He was always like a side character to a story that he should have been a main character with Dean Ambrose. But whatever. That's Vince McMahon booking right there. Pretty bad promo, nothing to say, but pretty funny moment because a meme came out of it. So let's move on from Roman Reigns promo to the other match of the night. And it is match 4 of the night. It is the Bella Twins, aka Nikki Bella. So you know what that means. Boobies! Versus AJ Lee, everybody's favorite female wrestler, apparently, for the Divas Championship. This match was not a match. This match was less than 5 seconds long. But let me tell you about the story behind this match and the weird storylines that were happening. For the past couple of months, Nikki and Brie Bella were feuding. Nikki was angry because Brie left the WWE and she had beef with Stephanie McMahon, leading to Stephanie McMahon punishing Nikki for Brie's action. Nikki was put in handicap matches, she was beat up, humiliated week after week, and they were really building up the underdog babyface Nikki Bella. But then Brie came back and then they had a match. It was Brie and Stephanie McMahon. Nikki Bella turned on Brie, leading to Stephanie winning their match. So this is what the story is. Nikki and Brie are feuding. Nikki beats Brie in a match where now Brie has to be Nikki's assistant and do everything that Nikki Bella tells her. So Nikki makes Brie do some embarrassing things. She dresses up as AJ Lee, in the ring getting beat up by her, but then AJ Lee interferes. Brie tries to do a roll-up, and you know, it's a big mess. AJ Lee dresses up as Nikki Bella, fights Brie. You know, it's a shit show. It doesn't really make any sense. And this storyline between the Bella Twins was very bad. If you guys know the clip, that really bad clip of Nikki Nikki telling Brie, I wish you died in the womb. That's where this is from. This storyline gave us that clip. So this show has a lot of memes in it. But this match, it's not remembered because of its wrestling, because there was no wrestling. As I said, it was 5 seconds. But what happened in the ring between AJ Lee and Brie Bella. If you don't know what happened, the match just started off Nikki and AJ in the ring. And then Brie grabs the title and is standing on the apron. AJ goes to check and see what's up, and then Brie grabs AJ and plants a big ol' kiss on those lips. A big ol' lesbian action in WWE. AJ turns around, Nikki hits her finisher, 1, 2, 3. AJ Lee loses the title to Nikki Bella. A match that took less than 5 seconds, and it was only just a way to get a little bit of lesbian action on TV. Now, you may be wondering, why did Brie do this? She has been feuding with Nikki for the past months. Her life was made a living hell by Nikki. So why did she help Nikki? That's a very good question, and I don't know. I know they explained it, but it wasn't a good explanation, so I kind of forgot. I think they said because they were twins or something. Blood is thicker than water, but it was stupid. This match is everything wrong with the Divas division at that time. Nikki Bella, the trailblazer, the shattering of glass ceilings, had a 5-second match where all that happened was a lesbian kiss. And then people wonder why nobody really likes the Bella twins and what they did in the company. Because what they did in the company is shit like this. So yeah, that was a match that happened on a pay-per-view, might I add. And it was all that. It was just a little bit of lesbian action. What you gonna do? Now let's get into the main event. The match that makes the show so memorable. And before I get into it, I absolutely love this match. I love whatever happens in this match. I love the storyline in this match, and I love every wrestler that was in this match. So as I said in the beginning, the show started off with Vince McMahon coming out and explaining the stipulation of the main event, and this was an aspect of the show throughout its whole running time. We had multiple backstage promos of Triple H hyping up his team, John Cena hyping up his team, and just people talking about the main event and the stipulation. So it's finally time. These are the teams. For Team Authority, we have Seth Rollins, Luke Harper, Mark Henry, Kane, and Rusev. For Team Cena, we have John Cena himself, Dolph Ziggler, Eric Rowan, Ryback, and Big Show. And one big thing that I really like about this match is that everybody in this match were somehow involved with each other. So let me tell you what the beef is between all of these people and how the teams were created. Seth Rollins, he is the pet project for the Authority, so he's gonna stick with them. Pretty easy, straightforward. Luke Harper has been a heel this whole time. As of now, the Wyatt family is no more, so Seth Rollins and J&J Security helped him beat Dolph Ziggler for the Intercontinental title. So Luke Harper is now Team Authority. Mark Henry is the one person in this team that does not have any involvement with anybody else. He's pretty much the most random person in this team, which plays factor in the match later on. Kane, he is Corporate Kane right now, the worst version of Kane, and he is the pet monster of the Authority, so he's gonna do whatever the Authority tells him to do. And Rusev, he is the biggest rising heel in the company right now. He is on his undefeated streak, and he is destroying everybody while proudly representing the motherland of Russia on American television. One other thing I have to say about Rusev. My God, is Rusev a lucky man. My God, is Lana a fine piece of art. Rusev must have been one happy man because he bagged a bad bitch like her, and oh my God, is Lana hot as hell. I don't know how he did it. I don't know what levels of Riz he had to pull off, but congratulations to Rusev for that. Even though in his future, there are a lot of storylines with cheating and cuckolding, but that is a conversation for another time. As of now, we gotta give this man his big ups because he bagged a bad bitch like Lana. Going back to the relationship between everybody in this team. So Rusev is the big bad foreign heel, so he is definitely Team Authority because Team Authority is bad guys. You know, makes pretty much sense. So what is the reason Team Cena is Team Cena? Well, John Cena is always the ultimate babyface and he doesn't like Triple H and the Authority, so there you go. Dolph Ziggler joined Team Cena because Luke Harper was the one that beat him for the Intercontinental title, and Seth Rollins helped him, so Dolph Ziggler has beef with Seth and the Authority. Eric Rowan doesn't like Luke Harper, so he's in Team Cena. Ryback. Now, Ryback at this time, I don't know if you guys remember or if you watched this era of WWE, but Ryback had recently just come back to the company, and he was over as hell. The crowd loved him. He was getting crazy levels of reactions, and his matches always had the crowd involved in it. So Ryback at that time was viable. Ryback was seen as a viable main eventer in the company. He had all momentum behind him. I don't know how he messed that up or what he did, but we all know how Ryback ended and what he's doing right now. But at this time, this was peak Ryback, and the Authority really wanted Ryback to join Team Authority. But Ryback and Kane didn't get along because they were both monster wrestlers, and there could only be one monster wrestler in the roster. So they were having that sort of beef. So Ryback decided to join Team Cena. And Ryback was the biggest pop for Team Cena. He was the last person to join Team Cena at that promo where they had the contract signing. And when he did, the crowd went ballistic. And then, you know, we have Big Show. What do you want me to say about Big Show? The reason he joined is because he always had problems with Stephanie McMahon. Remember that weird time around that era where Stephanie McMahon kind of chopped off his balls and made him a little bitch? Yeah, that was the reason Big Show joined Team Cena, because he just doesn't like Stephanie McMahon. So everybody in this match has something that they don't like about the opposing team, which is great. It makes the feud feel believable and the story even better. So how was the match itself in the ring? Well, all of these guys are good wrestlers. They were all solid hands, and the match itself was pretty solid. The match starts off with Big Show and Mark Henry, and this is where the first elimination of the match happened. Mark Henry is in that match for about 5 minutes after running into Big Show's fist and then getting pinned 1, 2, 3 in the center of the ring. So Mark Henry worked a total of 5 minutes and got a main event paycheck out of it. Big ups to Mark Henry. Congratulations for that. Keep going, King. After Mark Henry was eliminated, the eliminations kind of slowed down for a bit until Ryback, the fan favorite at that time, was eliminated by Rusev. And at that moment, watching this show live, Ryback's elimination was a big shock. I thought Ryback was going to be in that match for a really long time because he had a lot of fan momentum behind him. But no, he was actually the second person to get eliminated from that match and the first person of Team Cena to go. After that, Rusev wrestles Dolph for a while. Everybody kind of falls out in the ring, and Rusev puts Dolph on the Spanish announce table. He gets on the normal announce table and jumps onto Dolph, hoping that he hits him, but Dolph gets out of the way. Rusev splats through the Spanish announce table. The ref starts counting, which was weird because he wasn't counting in the beginning when everybody was out. He started counting when Rusev went through the table. Dolph makes it into the ring. Rusev doesn't have power to get up on his own, and JJ Security, who are out there with the Authority and Lana, the very hot Lana, fails to carry Rusev into the ring, so Rusev is out of the match. A smart way to get Rusev out of the match, because Rusev right now is in his undefeated era, so it wouldn't make sense for Rusev to lose clean. But since he got counted out, a smart way of getting Rusev out of the match without actually having him to lose his undefeated streak. Something that maybe they should have thought about when they decided to destroy Asuka's undefeated streak a few years later down the line. One thing about this match, Cena as the leader of this team didn't do a lot of work in this night. He had a pretty light schedule. He didn't wrestle that much. He did his, his patented 5 moves of doom for a while and a little bit of chain wrestling, but nothing really to add note. After Cena is out of the ring and somebody else gets tagged in, Eric Rowan gets eliminated by Luke Harper. At this time, the eliminations start to pick up a lot more. The elimination between Ryback and Rusev took a while, but when Rusev was eliminated, a bunch of eliminations came out of nowhere, like back to back. So Eric Rowan is out. Big Show is in the ring. He's telling John Cena to stand up. John Cena is hurt. He was tagged out. He gets up. The shocker of all shocks. Something totally unexpected happened. Big Show turned heel for the 10th billionth time in his career. He punches John Cena in the face. Seth Rollins pins John Cena, and Cena is eliminated just like that. We have a turncoat, everybody. The most loyal person in the company, Big Show, has turned heel. Who could have seen it? He walks towards Triple H, shakes his hand, walks out of the ring, and then gets counted out. So Big Show just screwed over Team Cena. There were 3 of them, but now it is just poor Dolph Ziggler. Yes, you heard me right. It is Dolph Ziggler versus 3 other people. And this is the biggest issue I have with this match. Everything in this match has been going well. Heel turn from Big Show is where this match kind of fumbles a bit. Because, you know, it is Big Show. He's going to turn heel no matter what. But the problem is they picked Dolph Ziggler to be the last man standing for Team Cena. While Dolph Ziggler is great in the ring, he's a good wrestler, don't get me wrong, he is way too good at selling for everybody else. This is Dolph Ziggler's issue. He makes everybody else look so good in the ring that it takes away from him. When Dolph Ziggler gets punched, he's so good at selling it, it looks like he just died in the middle of the ring. And that is the problem. He is so good at selling and making everybody else feel so strong around him that you can't believe that he can do a comeback like that because he's always getting his shit kicked in because he's so good at selling it. But it is Dolph Ziggler, Corporate Kane, Seth Rollins, and Luke Harper. They beat his ass for a bit, but then Dolph eliminates Kane. He does his super kick, his zigzag, and then gets a 3 out of nowhere. So Corporate Kane is out. So now we got Luke Harper and Rollins versus Dolph. Harper comes in, big boot to Dolph. It looks like he just killed Dolph. 1, 2, kicks out. That's the issue. Dolph is so good at selling, it doesn't make his comebacks believable. And this is where this match kind of fumbles a bit. They should not have Dolph as the last man standing. They should have him in there with somebody else, or they should have like Ryback. Ryback is more believable that he can pull a 3-on-1 out of nowhere, but Dolph cannot. So Luke Harper beats down Dolph for a bit, cannot put away Dolph Ziggler. Dolph Ziggler does manage to put away Luke Harper. So the teams went from 3-1 to now 1v1. It's Dolph Ziggler and Seth Rollins, the handpicked guy of the Authority and the underdog. When these two wrestle, it is a good match. Both of these guys are young, solid workers right now, but again, with Dolph being so good at selling, you can't believe that he just did all that. And this is where interference in the match really kicks up. This whole time, J&J Security and Triple H and Stephanie McMahon have been out there in the ring, losing their mind that all their guys have lost to Dolph Ziggler. And now J&J Security are getting involved. Seth Rollins cannot do it alone, so Triple H tells J&J Security to go in there. Dolph clears out JJ Security, and it's just him and Rollins again. Now, one thing I do want to add about Rollins. At this time, Rollins was always talked about as the future of the company, the handpicked guy of the Authority that's going to carry this company to the future. But they tell you one thing, and then they treat him another way. So Seth at this time was relying too much on outside interference. He had JJ Security with him all the time, and then he had the Authority watching his back. While it was great for his character because he was a chicken shit heel, it really made him seem as a paper champion or somebody that cannot get the job done by himself. It was basically the Magnus effect. When Magnus won the TNA World Championship for the first time, he was always relying on everybody else to get the win. And he made him look weak, and that's what Seth Rollins is dealing with right now. While in storyline it makes perfect sense, in execution it makes Rollins look weak and pathetic. Get back into this match. JJ Security is out. Dolph manages to put Rollins down. He goes for the pin, but then Triple H pulls the ref out. The match continues. More shenanigans occur in the match. A second ref is coming down. Dolph has the pin. 1, 2. Triple H attacks the ref and finally enters the match himself. He puts the beat down on Dolph Ziggler. Dolph Ziggler gets destroyed by Triple H. He pedigrees him, he lays him on the ring, and then he puts Seth Rollins over Dolph, and then he calls out for another ref. Scudder Armstrong. The announce team points him out by name and calls him a crooked ref. The ref is in there counting 1, 2, and before he get the 3, music hits. And it is the one, the only, the icon, Sting debuts for the WWE. The man that Vince McMahon could never get. The one guy that Vince McMahon could never buy was just bought, and he is in the WWE, and he showed up in the main event of Survivor Series. And this is one of the biggest aspects that this show is remembered. It is remembered for Sting's awesome debut. And if you cannot tell, I am a big mark for Sting. I think he's great, and I loved everything they did with him at his debut. I am gonna talk about his run in the WWE in another video with more details, but everything they did with him tonight was great. His debut was unexpected, it was at the best moment, and when he came in, he made a big splash in the company. Sting comes out, he walks down the ring, he attacks the crooked ref, he goes in the ring, and then he has a stare down with Triple H. Now, it was a pretty long stare down. They should have cut it down by like a minute or something. It was way too long. But the Virgin Triple H throws a punch. The Chad Sting dodges it, puts him down. He gets up. He moves Rollins off Dolph Ziggler, pulls Dolph Ziggler over Rollins. The ref finally wakes up. He comes in the ring. 1, 2, 3. Dolph Ziggler did it. Team Cena has won, and Team Authority is gone. We won't have to deal with the Authority anymore. They're off TV, and they have lost all creative control in storyline aspects. They were still major parts in the company, but let us have our moment. This was perfect. The ending was exactly what we needed, because before this, Team Authority was running wild in the WWE for like years. Every week, we would have to deal with the Authority. We would have to deal with annoying Stephanie McMahon on the mic and annoying Triple H on the mic every week. These guys always got the best of the baby faces. They never got their shit rocked. They never got any pushback. They never did anything to make the baby faces look good. They were always on top, and fans were so sick and tired of it. It wasn't just heat because they were heels. No, it was go away heat. Anytime the Authority was on your TV, you wanted to change the channel. It was ratings cancer, and we finally get to be free from the Authority because they lost. And the crowd went wild. The crowd loved it. They cheered like they had just won their Super Bowl. They don't have to deal with the Authority every week, multiple times a week anymore. And that relief lasted for a couple of weeks because they were brought back. But that is a story for another time. So what do I think about the show? The show itself was good, and the main event was great. The main event was so good. It had such a strong storyline. It had such good chemistry going into it that it took a middle. It made the whole show good. Main event pulled off such a buzzer beater. It makes this show so good. And it's so memorable because not only do we get the debut of Sting, but we got the sweet, sweet relief from the Authority. This show is great. If you've never seen it, highly recommend. This storyline going into the main event is perfect. The other matches, while they kinda sucked ass, it was still fun. But that main event was the best match of the night. They did it. They pulled off the best ending could have asked for. They did mess it up, but let us have this moment. This is what is missing in current WWE. Great storyline payoffs. We don't get this anymore. This is why storylines are so important in WWE, because this show, if it didn't have this main event, it would have been a shit show. But because this main event was so good and the story was built perfectly with the best ending we could have hoped for, it makes this show so memorable. We had that awesome ending. We had the awesome Sting debut, which led to some disappointment, but whatever. It is Sting in WWE. We have been asking this for years, and we finally got it. And at that time, we didn't know what was going to happen with Sting. And we were all hoping, we were all praying that we would finally get that one match, that one WrestleMania match, that one match that you all know which one I'm talking about. We all thought we were gonna get Sting versus Undertaker at WrestleMania. It did not happen, but just the idea and having the possibility of it actually happening, it was great. This show is great for its main event. I highly recommend you watching this show. Thank you all for watching.